Welcome to the final episode of Let's Play Metal Gear Solid 3. This is going to be a long episode with a lot of cutscene, so I'm not going to be talking much in the beginning. Where in the hell are they?
So what are you going to do now? Go back to the KGB?
What do you want me to do?
Did you ever think about coming back to America?
I can't go back. I've left America behind me.
But you saved this country.
I didn't do it alone.
Why are you sitting to the left of her?
And I still owe you a dinner.
Is that part of your mission too? Or is it an order? Or is it an invitation? Or a proposal?
Whoa, whoa. Moving way too fast for me.
I don't take orders from anyone now.
Oh, that could have been important. How much those things cost? Holy shit, lady. Oh, well, she's gone. Don't feel bad. Don't feel too bad, at least. At least you woke up in the same place you fell asleep. Not in Mexico or anything like that.
Scholars tell us that the first spy in history was the snake in the book of Genesis. In that story, it was Eve who was tempted by the snake in the Garden of Eden. But this time around, it was I who tempted the snake and got away with the forbidden fruit of knowledge. Forgive me, Snake.
What in the hell is she up to? Ah, well, there we go.
Good morning, Snake. I hope you slept well. First of all, I have to apologize. I wasn't sent by Khrushchev. I'm not a KGB spy, and I never worked for the NSA. I'm an agent of the People's Republic of China for the General HQ 2nd Department of the People's Liberation Army. It was all a lie. I tricked you. And I'm sorry. The philosophers still exist in China, too. You see, my mission was to find out where Volgan was hiding the Philosopher's legacy and steal it. So I infiltrated his base as a KGB spy. The two NSA codebreakers who defected in 1960 were actually both men. The real Adam never showed up at the meeting place, saving me the trouble of having to eliminate him. I sneaked in by pretending I was Eva. And you and Sokolov and Volgan, you all believed me. The Philosopher's legacy was originally held in common between the US, Soviet Union, and China. We couldn't let the Russians and the Americans take it all for themselves. The Chinese government had its eye on the legacy too. I got the film containing the legacy, and also the nuclear missile launch data from the Shagohod. 5 years ago, the Soviet Union stopped supplying us with nuclear weapons technology. Since then, China's Liaodong easing, hydrogen bomb, and space rocket projects have fallen behind. But with this data, our country will be able to develop its own nukes. We'll create a deterrent force to rival those of the US and Soviet Union. Everything has gone according to plan, thanks to your help. I too am one of the Philosophers. I'm an agent of the Philosophers, a graduate of one of their charm schools. I was raised in a joint US-Soviet-Chinese facility to become a sleeper agent. This was before the war. Back then, they were collecting children from all over the world. As a result, I'm indistinguishable from a native-born American. So it didn't surprise me when you and Volgan couldn't tell the difference. But she knew right from the beginning. She knew because before the war, she was at one of the Philosopher's schools too, as an instructor. The boss was the only one I couldn't fool. She was the only one who knew I was a fake. She told me everything. Why did she open her heart to me like that? At the time, I couldn't understand it. But now, I think I do. Snake. She wanted you to know the truth. She chose me to tell you. That's why she saved my life. I've lied to you so many times, but not this time. My orders from the government were to obtain the legacy and to eliminate everyone who knew the truth about what happened. In other words, I'm supposed to kill you. But I can't do it. Not because we loved each other. And not because you saved my life. But because I made a promise to the boss. And I intend to keep it. I just wanted you to know. And you have to live. Snake, listen to me. She didn't betray the United States. No. Far from it. She was a hero who died for her country. She carried out her mission knowing full well what was going to happen. Self-sacrifice. Because that was her duty.
You are above even the boss. I hereby award you the title of Big Boss. You are a true patriot.
It's an odd title to give someone. Wait, hold on. It's Ocelot standing outside the window. Still wearing his Soviet Union uniform. Odd.
In the army. Someone like him to handle our top secret sneaking missions for us. A man who combines the qualities of a soldier and an agent.
The boss's defection was a ruse set up by the US government. It was all a big drama staged by Washington so they could get their hands on the philosopher's legacy. And the boss was the star of the show. They planned it so that they could get the legacy that Colonel Volgin inherited and destroy the Shagohod at the same time. Only a legendary hero like the boss could have earned Volgin's trust. Finding out where the philosopher's legacy was hidden was to be her greatest mission. Everything was going according to plan. But then something happened that no one could have predicted. Colonel Volgin fired an American-made nuclear warhead at Sokolov's research facility. Khrushchev demanded that the US government provide proof that it wasn't involved. They couldn't just abort the operation to steal the legacy. So the operation itself was greatly expanded and revised. The authorities in Washington knew that in order to prove its innocence, they'd have to get rid of the boss, and that one of their own would have to do the job. The public couldn't be allowed to find out about it. Not ever. This, they concluded, would be the best way to keep the whole thing under wraps. The boss wouldn't be allowed to come back home alive, and she wouldn't be allowed to kill herself. Her life would be ended by her most beloved disciple. That was the way the government wanted it. That was the mission she was given, and she had no choice but to carry it out. Her death at your hands was a duty she had to fulfill. Out of duty, she turned her back on her own comrades. A lesser woman would have been crushed by such a burden. The taint of disgrace will follow her to her grave. Future generations will revile her. In America as a despicable traitor with no sense of honor. And in Russia as a monster who unleashed a nuclear catastrophe. She will go down in official history as a war criminal. And no one will ever understand her. That was her final mission. And like a true soldier, she saw it through to the end. But I think she wanted you, of all people, to know the truth. She wanted to live on in your memory. Not as a soldier, but as a woman. But she was forbidden to tell you herself. And that's why she told me. Snake, history will never know what she did. No one will ever learn the truth. Her story, her debriefing, will endure only in your heart. Everything she did for her country. sacrificed her life and her honor for her native land. She was a real hero. She was a true patriot.
And yes, that did happen. Philosophers to the Patriots. A little bit of a connection to the next game, or the previous game. Oh, there we go. So referencing the birth of solid, liquid, and solidus snakes. Actually, the original two were Solid and Liquid Snake, and Solidus, I believe, was born a short time afterward. But anyway, that is the end of Metal Gear Solid 3. And this is one of the... I have a feeling this is one of the games in the series that sort of has been written off a little bit since the series, for the most part, has come to a close, or at least it seemed like it did after Metal Gear Solid 4. They have more games coming out, but this game seems to be the one that people don't really remember too much. They obviously all remember Metal Gear Solid. Revolutionary game this time. And people remember Metal Gear Solid 2 largely in a negative way. And of course, Metal Gear Solid 4 was as awesome as it was, but Metal Gear Solid 3 is a little bit of an awkward position because it was sort of at the end of the PlayStation 2's life cycle, and people were really looking forward to what would be coming next rather than looking back to the older hardware, so it sort of didn't really get the attention that it really deserved. Also, some of the enemies like Colonel Vulcan and all them were really not that as well fleshed out as, say, Liquid Snake was as a villain, even if the boss is really supposed to be portrayed as the main villain. Whether or not that's true, it's up to interpretation. But he wasn't as well fleshed out. There's also some other problems with it. But overall, I think it's a very well developed game, especially like cinematically, or when the Shagohod was chasing after the motorcycle. That was friggin' awesome, and it seems like so much of the game was extraordinarily well done. But it doesn't really make up for some of the downsides, so it's kind of stigmatizing the game. The storyline, I kind of like what they did here though, because Metal Gear Solid 2 came out and sort of made a big blunder of the entire story by introducing the Patriots and this extraordinarily convoluted plot that involves these characters constantly betraying each other and all those kinds of things, and it confused the story so incredibly that it seemed like it would be impossible to really resurrect this thing back from what it had become. So that's what I like about what they did here. They sort of sidestepped that and made a prequel. 1960s instead of the 90s, 2000s, or the 2010s, whatever the hell you want to call that decade. It allowed them to focus on things that happened before, say, the rise of the Patriots. Even though the Patriots were implied to have existed for as long as the United States had, this was definitely before the Patriots, and they were sort of able to just sidestep all of that stuff. And in the way they kind of set up with this game, what would be Metal Gear Solid 4, which finally did manage to take all that confusing story that MGS2 introduced and sort of boil it down and simplify it or explain it in a way that people could really understand. This one was a little bit of a cop-out compared to MGS4, but they did a pretty good job, I think, and I don't want to knock them for that. Some other themes that I want to talk about in this. It was pretty awesome. You have, especially the character of the boss here. The boss was a character which has been portrayed since before the game was even released, or in all of the trailers for the game and all that, as being an antagonist, is a person who is betrayed the United States, went over to the Soviet Union, was doing all this bad stuff. But in reality, we see at the very end, and only at the very end, that she had reasons for doing the things that she did. She was actually under orders. She was doing this for the good of the U.S. during the Cold War, even if it wasn't so immediately obvious. And it makes you think a little bit about what other characters are sort of doing the same thing. Say, for example, take a look at the character of Ocelot. He was a character that, in Metal Gear Solid, he was taking part in Liquid Snake's uprising. He took control of the island and took control of Metal Gear alongside a Liquid Snake. And he's a character who's like purely antagonistic, although he never really broke away from that antagonist side of things. He sort of... I don't know how to explain it, but he sort of broke away from that, and he really wasn't on the side of the terrorists. He was playing them as some sort of... playing them as for fools, really. Now, whether there are other characters along the story that seem to be doing evil things, but perhaps aren't really as evil as they seem. Perhaps there's more to this than we've really been led on to believe. Of course, it's not to say that all of these evil people are really good people in disguise. Oh, there are undeniably some evil sons of bitches in this. But I guess we'll find out when we do the next game. And I will be doing Metal Gear Solid 4. A couple of months ago, I picked up some HD capturing equipment that would allow me to do Metal Gear Solid 4, which I did not want to do unless I could do in HD. Now I can, and I will. Also, this is a point, as far as my channel goes, rather interesting thing, because for the first time since I started doing Let's Plays, and I started getting a little bit bored playing 1 or 2 games at a time, so I went and I started picking up all of these multiple projects. I'm doing 3, 4, 5 games at a time. It was ridiculous. So many different series going on simultaneously. It took me forever to get through any particular game. Well, over the past 3 weeks, so many of my games have come to a close around at the same time. It's given me an opportunity to sort of go back to having only a few going on at the same time. And when I do Metal Gear Solid 4, I'm going to be able to get through that a whole lot quicker than it took me to do MGS 1, 2, or 3. Metal Gear Solid music. Love it. This is awesome. Now, as typically happens at the end of these games, a little bit more.
Yes, Grozny Grad and the Granin Research Facility have both been wiped out without a trace. I understand, sir, but they were necessary sacrifices. Yes, the CIA has taken care of the boss themselves. I believe the White House will be satisfied. Khrushchev is finished. Your time has finally arrived. Yes, the American president is relying on us to keep a lid on the whole affair. We've got him by the balls. It should make a valuable trump card in future negotiations. Yes, Chief Director, of course. I'll keep the KGB informed. Yes, it's me. The boss has accomplished her mission. The philosopher's legacy is now safely with us, in America's hands. With this money, yes, the philosophers can finally be revived. The film we handed the Chinese was a fake. Peking must be in an uproar right about now. I'm afraid so. Only half the money has made it back to the United States. The KGB must still have part of the legacy. Yes, the weapon has been reduced to ashes. That's right. Grozny Grad has been obliterated by the Davy Crockett we brought in as well. Yes, that was the boss's work too. Speaking of which, I've obtained something from Granin that you might find interesting. It's a revolutionary new nuclear attack system. Perhaps it might just come in handy someday. Yes, we have Snake to thank for that. Khrushchev believed it as well. Yes, they bought our story. I don't think they'll be making a fuss. The secondary alert has been lifted as well. And the Soviets still haven't discovered my true identity. They have no idea that I've been triple-crossing them. I will continue my activities as a contact for the new government. Yes, it appears that no one knew that I was Adam. Of course, I am always at the CIA's disposal, Mr. Director.
Oh, damn! Well, that brings a little more into this. Ocelot was in fact playing both sides of this. And, well, we eventually know that he went and moved over entirely to the United States side of things back in MGS2. He said he abandoned Russia during the Cold War. But really, it's way too late to be talking about this. This is the end of my Let's Play for Metal Gear Solid 3. I'll be starting MGS4. Also, if you liked what you had seen here, I have a number of other series on this channel you can go and check out. So, go take a peek at that. Thank you, and goodbye.